I'm on a journey to get out of just under $120,000 worth of debt. When you have that kind of debt, you start looking into additional ways that you can pay off more money, make more money, save more money than just your regular 9-to-5 job. So I've made a lot of videos on my channel about ways to pay off debt, things like meal plans, budgeting, doing low buy and no buy month challenges. But today I want to go over 4 specific categories, the spectrum from very, common, easy ways to make and save money in each of these categories, and then kind of going to the other end, the more extreme, labor-intensive avenues of making more and saving more money in each of these categories. So the first category that I want to go over is working more. So a very common strategy to working more is obviously just picking up more shifts at your job or working longer hours. This is something that I'm currently doing. I work as a registered nurse. So I think, this is something that's fairly common that most people can do, working a little bit extra in their existing job. Either taking on a little bit more work, if you work from home, or if you're in a shift work as I am, picking up extra shifts, talking to your manager. You can always find somebody that you work with who's looking to have the day off. So, I feel like that this is a fairly easy side of the spectrum, increasing your work. But then towards kind of the other end of the spectrum of working more, the more labor intensive end of the spectrum or extreme end of the spectrum would be getting a second job or getting a side hustle. I mean, I'm calling this kind of more extreme, but I do realize that, a lot of people do this. It's pretty common. It does require, I feel like, a lot more time and labor. So before I had my baby 2 years ago, I had a second job as a nurse, but having, a second part-time job or freelance job or as needed job using your existing skill set is pretty amazing when you need to get certain things accomplished. So I live in the US, which, most companies, unless you work for like Google, don't have amazing, maternity leave benefits. When I had my baby, I took 12 weeks off and I was paid 80% of my base rate of pay. And my husband, through the company that he works for, got 2 weeks of paid paternity leave, which, that's actually, I feel like, more than most dads get, depending on what company you work for. And I knew it was going to be like that. So the last trimester that I was pregnant and still working, I just worked a lot. I worked like 5 days a week. So 3 days at my normal job and then picked up 2 extra days at my second job. And I was actually able to make a decent amount of money in those 3 months. And this really kind of helped cushion that 80% of my normal base pay. It helped supplement my income. And then also it allowed my husband to take off an additional 4 weeks of unpaid leave. So now, leaving the house during the day to go work at a second job isn't really feasible. Because I take care of my daughter and my stepson during the day, during the week. So I've been trying to figure out, something that I can do after my husband gets home from work, either, something that I can do completely remote here at my house, or something that I could do, for a couple hours outside of the house. There's like a Starbucks, like less than a mile from where I live, and I was seriously considering, going there and doing like 4-hour shifts a couple times a week. I've also been researching the idea of being a psychedelic guide. I know this one sounds a little bit more out there, but I'm aware of it's legit, a mail order ketamine therapy company that are hiring remote psychedelic guides. And I actually have experience, I am a recovery room nurse, so I take care of patients that have been given like ketamine, in the operating room before they wake up. So I feel like I actually have a decent set of skills to do that position as well. So that's another one that I've kind of been kicking around, and I will let you know how that goes if I end up going that route. And then there's things like YouTube, which, I mean, I've been doing it for a year, and it is definitely still very much a labor of love for me. But I do hear that some people actually make money off of their YouTube accounts. I mean, it's probably an urban legend, but you know, these kind of side hustles or second jobs, they do cut into, you know, your free time. But you know, when you're trying to get out of over $117,000 worth of debt, you're kind of eager to do whatever you can to make money and buy your freedom. So the second category that I want to get into is transportation. Specifically simplifying your transportation. So my husband and I currently have 2 cars. We have a pretty fuel efficient little hatchback SUV. That is my car. And then we also have a pickup truck that is not great on gas. That is my husband's car. So we made the decision to start basically just using my car for commuting to and from work. Again, because my husband and I work opposite schedules, this is a possibility. You know, my car costs around $40 in the current, you know, with current gas prices to fill up, and my husband's truck costs roughly double that to fill up. So, you know, we share my car, we share the cost of gas, you know, which is nice. It kind of halves the amount of money that I have to budget for gas each month. And then, you know, he will buy the oil, and he's able to do like the oil changes for my car. So I mean, it's been working out really good so far. And I think, I mean, depending on people's situations, I feel like this is kind of a more accessible or common strategy to simplifying your transportation. We've been kicking around kind of a more extreme idea of selling his truck and just going down to one car. We got a quote off of Carvana recently just because we were curious, and we could sell my husband's truck for $10,000 more than he still owes on the car loan. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. It means, you know, we would essentially decrease our debt balance by about $20,000. And then he would still have, you know, $10,000 to put towards other debts. So, I mean, yeah, it's like $30,000 that we could get rid of from our debt list right there. It's very tempting. And we also calculated that if he sold the truck and no longer had to make payments on it and no longer had to pay for insurance, that would free up roughly $700 a month on his end. $700 extra a month and $30,000 off of our debt balance is super, super tempting. But we do use the truck to tow our travel trailer, and honestly, going down to one car with kids is kind of scary and kind of intimidating, because it means that when one of us is at work, either during the week or on the weekends, the other person is stuck at home until the person gets home from work. For everyday errands, that kind of sucks. Like if you want to go to the grocery store or go out to like a park that's not in your neighborhood or something. But then also in my head, I think like, well, what if there's like an emergency? That worries me as well. And I'm actually finally paying off my car, the little hatchback SUV, at the end of this month, which is super exciting. But I feel like, you know, the universe knows that, and now something's probably going to go wrong with that car because it's paid off. So for now, you know, we're just going to use that $450 that was going towards my car payments and use that to pay down debt and keep both cars. And we're going to continue to share my little car and to save on gas and maintenance fees and oil changes. But we always have, you know, selling the truck in our back pocket, you know, kind of like an ace in the hole if we really need to. So if you're thinking about simplifying your transportation to save money and put more money towards your financial goals, I guess you kind of have to keep a couple things in mind. You know, how far away are you from things that you need, like the grocery store, or medical facilities. You know, those are just kind of very important things. If you live within like walking distance to those things, it might be more realistic to go down to one car, but you know, it's really something that needs to be considered on a family by family basis. So the third category that I want to go over is consolidating debt. So this is the money saving option that I feel like is most controversial, I guess. Like my husband actually warned me. He's like, don't tell people that you're doing this because you're gonna get like a ton of flack probably, or maybe downright hate over this decision. But I really want to be transparent with anyone watching this. I think it's important not to just show, you know, the highlights, like I make every decision to be the most efficient and like, you know, that I have a perfect financial strategy, because I don't. But sometimes you make your decisions based on other reasons, and I'll get into that now. So a portion of the over $117,000 of debt that my husband and I are in, you know, both of us do have some credit card debt. My husband went the route where he went through his bank and got a credit consolidation loan, but I am taking a loan from my 401k to pay off some of my credit cards. So in this category, I feel like what my husband is doing is kind of the more, you know, common low stakes option for consolidating debt. What I'm doing is definitely the more controversial and I guess some people would say extreme method for paying off bills. So I am aware that, you know, taking out a 401k loan, you know, is a bad idea to most people that hear about it. I understand that I can't get back that time in the stock market. I can't get back those gains. I can't get back the compound interest. You know, if I take that money out of my retirement account for that period of time, I understand that it could substantially affect my retirement savings, you know, for years to come. But just how, you know, people do the debt snowball method instead of the debt avalanche method, even though, you know, the debt avalanche method is kind of going to save you more money in the end. But people do the debt snowball method because it helps emotionally and mentally, you know, with paying down debt. For me personally, taking out a 401k loan instead of a traditional loan has that same positive mental effect for me. Like, I just really don't want to take out another loan from a bank. I don't want to take out another line of credit. The 401k loan, to me, you know, it just feels like it is already my money. I'm taking a loan for myself. I'm paying myself back with interest, and just, you know, being able to pay off the majority of my credit card bills in one step, I feel like a huge stress will be lifted off of me. For me, it just feels right. It feels a lot better, even though I'm sure, you know, I'll get criticism for admitting to that. And then the last category of making extra money or saving extra money that I want to go over is selling things. So the common way to sell things is selling, you know, furniture and clothes, you know, through consignment stores, either physical stores or online consignment shops like ThredUp or even eBay. Like I said, I think this is a pretty common thing, you know, especially when you're a mom. Your kids grow out of their adorable clothes and gear so quickly. It just doesn't make sense to continually take things to Goodwill when you could just take it to a secondhand shop. Where I live in the Denver metro area, there's one that I've talked about in other videos called Once Upon a Child that I like to take my daughter's clothes to that she's grown out of. There's also, you know, Facebook Marketplace. There's another website for kind of higher end kids clothing called Kitizen. And then there's Goodbye Gear. It's an online store where you can buy mostly like baby gear, but it's where I bought like all of my daughter's baby gear, and I saved, you know, hundreds of dollars doing that. But you can also sell on that website as well. But I mean, just an example, I recently took, you know, a bag of clothes that my daughter had aged out of to Once Upon a Child, and I mean, I made $20, but that's still better than nothing. That's still better than, you know, just taking your daughter's old clothes to Goodwill. I've sold a couple times on ThreadUp, and according to my account on ThreadUp, I've made about $242 from selling through them. And then last month, I just took 2 pieces of furniture that we didn't have any, purpose for in our house anymore. We live in a pretty small space, so we just didn't have room or purpose for these 2 pieces of furniture anymore. And I've made over $40. Both of the items sold at a brick and mortar consignment store. Not a ton of money, but it's still something, and it requires very minimal effort. I personally prefer doing like consignment stores or websites, because then you're just interacting with the store or the website. You're not having to communicate and ship things and deal with a ton of buyers. But obviously you can make a lot more money, doing it on your own and not going through a consignment store or website. So the more kind of extreme or labor intensive side of selling things would be things like flipping things, or doing like digital products. So like buying and then flipping things for profit. You can usually make a lot more money that way than selling to a consignment store. Like, I know a lot of people that make a ton of money doing this. My older sister, for example, she would drop like thousands of dollars at like Nordstrom Rack, but it wasn't for herself. It was because she knew there were certain things that were being sold there that she could turn around and sell for like way more money online. She just had the knowledge and the eye for what would sell. And I know other people, kind of same thing, that have picked up things at garage sales and like turn around and sold those things for hundreds more dollars than they bought them for. You just really have to kind of know what you're looking at, know what is valuable, and kind of know if there's a market for something. So that's kind of where the more labor intensive or knowledge comes from. And then, making things like digital products. So these are things like online courses or digital publications or digital presets or digital templates. So, the cool thing with digital products is you have this kind of upfront investment of energy and effort and creativity. But once the product is created and up, online, then you can continue to kind of passively make income on it as long as it's online. But again, you do kind of have to have an idea, a wealth of knowledge in a subject if you're doing like an online course or a digital publication, or you have to have a little bit of tech savvy. You have to kind of know how to navigate these different programs, unless you're like contracting out to somebody on Fiverr, but that's going to obviously cut into your profits as well. So these are my takes on 4 different categories of, making more money in addition to your normal job. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up or even subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.